Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of Fair Gotham, welcome to Bat Minute of the Phantasm, the show that must be going nuts. Let's get nuts. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
I was so excited when he mentioned just the word nuts. I was like, oh, there it is, baby. We're back. We're back.
Oh, yeah. They know what they're doing here.
Oh, 100%. But yes, I am here who must say quite the reverse. It's me, Niall McGowan.
And as always, we are joined by very special guests, returning guests. We are joined today by Audra Wolfmann and Brett Stillo.
Hello.
Woo. I am the knight. I am vengeance. You know.
We are special.
Hey, guys.
This is minute 25, and the minute starts with the end of a casual date, and it ends with meeting the family. Quite a leap. Things are moving quickly.
Oh yeah, Bruce he kind of gets the bum's rush in a weird way here of just like, so you don't want to meet my dad? Oh, I'll be okay. Okay, let's go meet him right now. Let's for love of God, let's go. We can go.
With her limo phone.
Yeah,
yes. I am in love with that phone. We'll get into that, but it's the craziest thing. And then I found out that people actually had rotary ones in a car.
Oh yeah, it is a throwback.
I knew there were car phones. I mean, I've never actually seen one. I don't think they were big over here, but I didn't know they were rotary.
Yeah, it's funny because that goes back to, really the novelty of, the car phone, which was kind of just like a radio, because that would be the mark of a really cool, like, TV detective. And you have to go back like the 50s to like Peter Gunn. He had an actual telephone booth in his car. And or there was a really obscure old show called Burke's Law about a millionaire cop in Beverly Hills who drove kind of similar car, drove around in like a Rolls, and he also had a phone booth and a small phone company in his trunk.
Did they have like operators and stuff back there as well?
Yeah.
Like, girl with the little cat's eye glasses pokes her head out like, what can I get for you, Mr. Burke?
There's like 4 people in the back just permanently, yeah.
I'm no scientist, but I don't understand how they worked back then. I know that they had them in the war.
Because in my mind too, when someone says car phone, I keep imagining there's going to be like a wire hanging out to it attached to a phone line.
Really long cord.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I think it was more like a shortwave radio that then you could connect via an operator. Because a lot of times, in these old TV shows or movies, you when the guy picks up the phone, you say, "Mobile operator, could you please put me through to this number?" So I think it was probably World War II era radio technology combined.
That ties in with my research. You know what? Let's just jump to this part. We'll do it properly in a minute, right? Because I found that we did have these over here, and the website I got this information from was saying in the UK. There was also a vehicle-based system called the Post Office Radio Phone Service. So there you go. It must be radio operated. And it was launched in Manchester in 1959 and required callers to speak to an operator.
Yeah.
But you could be put through to anywhere in the country. So I don't fully get it, but it's radios, magic radio waves.
I don't know how radio works either. So
there's also the mystery of like, because there's a disappointing like lack of the comedy rule of 3 in that we first were introduced to Andrea Beaumont in this movie where she was talking on the telephone on a plane. And then the next time I see her now scrambling to use a car phone as well. Like, I feel there should be like a third scene of her like on a submarine or something.
On a train!
Yeah, a train. I don't know, freaking like just on a boat or something. There has to be a third phone in a random area that's just like, oh, that lady loves telecommunications. She can't get enough.
Right.
Advanced telecommunications that none of us understand.
Like she should be on that rocket pack the Joker's flying around at the end. She should be in it at some point, and then just take a phone out from the back and call Bruce.
Gotta take this call.
So we are back as Andrea finishes her thought about the future. Though, you know, she wants to know, are they talking about anybody's in particular or the generic brand?
This is the fact Bruce has to brush it off because, like, oh, you know, whatever. And then if he actually was, being honest, his thinking about the future is like, I was thinking about my cool future car that I'm going to drive around running criminals off the road in, okay? That's what I was thinking about.
He's got to be, right? Because he doesn't really answer her question. He just sort of goes, well, you know.
There's a couple of, Bruce, this week in general, he has a couple of, like, potentially very damaging conversations he can get in, that he's on the verge of getting into, and something always distracts him. Like in minute 3, he's on the cusp of saying some stuff that's like, I don't know if you can walk this back now, man. But my favorite moment though of this is just seeing, like, we've dealt with Michael Gough's Alfred, for 4 whole seasons. And we always noted that when he was driving, he had a little like Derby hat, or like a little bowler hat he'd wear. And then Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.'s Alfred comes in here with a you old man. I'm not going for just a hat. He's got a full-on driving ensemble going on here.
Don't we all?
I'm so appreciative that he's like. Now I just want to know, like, how many other outfits does he have? Does he have an outfit for each duty? Like,
well, he's got a French maid dress. Don't worry.
Oh, that's for special wear. That's a special occasion outfit.
Are they all tearaway too? Like, as soon as they get back to the manor, does he just like rip off this outfit? And he's got the house coat and tails and the bow tie underneath, and then flings the hat somewhere.
I never thought of that before, but where in crummy Thomas Wayne's will did he say, only Alfred can take care of Bruce? Any other assistance will negate any payment to Alfred.
Yeah, no driver. Like, Alfred has to do. He's also the plumber.
Yeah, hold on. Let me put the chef's hat on.
Yeah.
Or at this stage in his life, because Bruce, like, it's understandable when he is Batman, because utmost secrecy. But at this point, he's just Bruce Wayne, so he could be like, why doesn't he have like Aunt Harriet knocking around and like a whole fleet of helpers and stuff? And he's like, no, this one guy still has to like, Alfred, get your valet outfit on. We're going on somewhere.
Actually, speaking of Aunt Harriet, that I think in this one. Because after I watched this, I went back and I watched a couple episodes of the series. But I do remember Alfred saying, oh, by the way, Mrs. Cooper is cooking something. It's like, Mrs. Cooper? Harriet Cooper? Nice, that's one great thing about the animated series and this movie is, these guys love the Bat as much as we do. And they love all aspects of the Bat. So any chance they have, to throw in a reference to a giant penny or something like that, they're going to do it. And they know their audience. And I think that's...
I don't know if did you guys see The Batman from last year when it came out?
Nope.
No.
Oh, you've got to watch it.
It's real
really?
good.
Okay.
It's real good. But
I controversially might say it's the best one.
Whoa, that is controversial.
Yeah. It's one of those ones. It's like
I'm leaving.
It's incredibly like derivative of a lot of other Batman movies, but it's just like taking the best parts and putting them into the one big movie, and like, and some of it, it's like, oh, that's like that moment is swiped from The Dark Knight, but they do it better this time around and stuff. You're like, I think he's just like trying to like perfect the Batman movie rather than make something completely original and stuff. But.
Worked for Roger Moore in The Spy Who Loved Me, so it's the formula does work in the right place, right time. It becomes a greatest hits album or a Tom Jones medley.
But there's a thing in The Batman where like, oh, there's Bruce and Alfred knocking around, and then there's just this random old lady who keeps coming in, and I was like, in the cinema, I was like, no. Is it Aunt Harriet? And it's like, no, some other lady. But I was like, oh my God, you nearly gave me a heart attack when she showed up. It's like, he's got a little random lady who's hanging around the house.
Yeah, maybe in the next one.
Yeah. And then it was the frustration of like, why isn't it Aunt Harriet? For the love of God, just give it.
Yeah.
And then I guess Aunt Harriet is Dick Grayson's aunt. So it's like, no, I guess if he's not there, then there's no point in having Aunt Harriet around.
Well, he might be in the next one as well.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah,
But,
did anything happen to her in any of the canon?
I think we did talk about Aunt Harriet last season quite a bit because of the old Alfred dying thing. The reason Aunt Harriet was ever brought into the comics was because they wanted to kill off Alfred. I think she just went like back to Boise or wherever the hell she came from. She was just like, eventually they were like, nah, it's just see you, Aunt Harriet, bye bye. That wasn't like when Alfred died, then he got resurrected as this weird like rock monster guy and stuff.
Speaking of controversial, I'm gonna point it out. That love this movie. Thanks for having us on. But I did have a few little problems with it. A few little problems. You kind of see it here. That one problem with this movie is the animation is I think it's inconsistent. You have some sequences that look great, and you have some sequences that look, Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning. And I know, this, as I recall, this movie was done under a rush, and Deanie and Tim were not happy about that, but you make the studio happy. But I feel like, a couple of things, like this sequence, the animation doesn't look so great, but also it goes really against the color palette, if you will, of the series, and it's daylight.
Well, it seems to be
that's a good point. Yeah,
it seems to be like it's actually like it's like dusk for about 3 hours. It seems.
Yeah,
like,
could be.
Like way later on, like the minute 3, it's like some time has bound to have passed since they left and went and met Carl Beaumont and stuff. Yet it is still dusk the entire time. But,
wow. Well, time is very strange in this movie, actually, especially sort of like how much time has elapsed, since they broke up versus meeting up again. And, I found a lot of time situations confusing. And the 3 hours of dusk is also accounts.
I was the same because I think the flashback doesn't do enough to make them look a different age.
Well, then you get some other ones, like we'll see them next minute, but like there's supposed to be a passage of 10 years, and like whatever the hell happened to Sal Valestra. It's like he goes from looking like he's about like 45 in this, and then he's just like, oh, he's like 80. He's like near 90 years old.
But Bruce hasn't changed a day.
Yeah, well, Bruce just bulks up a little bit. And then Andrea is exactly the same.
Yeah, and well, of course, women can hold up. But Alfred, he goes completely white. Doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think it's the opposite. He just quit using the really bad.
Stops dyeing his hair.
Yeah, stopped dyeing his hair. What little was left.
Sell some blue or whatever.
Yeah, they should have had a bit though, like when Bruce puts on the mask for the first time and Alfred has it, it's like, my God. It should have just seen his hair go white instantly. Then. That's what did it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been a cool animated moment.
Yeah. Turns out he's not even old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, he's 30.
But other side of it is, the time here, and like I said, the animation. But I mean, in this minute, you really get. It's just a nice example of how good the voice actors are, and Kevin Conroy doing that. Wait, did I say? Is it? I'm getting confused. There's a Kevin Conroy and a Kevin Conway.
That's Conroy. Thank
you. I got it right the first time. Could we edit that out so I sound smarter?
No.
Okay. Staying in now, you've asked.
Kevin Conroy doing this sort of quasi Archie Andrews Bruce Wayne. I don't know, Andrea. Can we just go see her father? It's far more subtle than that, but he does change his tone just enough so he sounds younger.
Yeah,
and just a tribute to what you already know. What a great voice actor this guy was.
Yeah.
And it just shows Bruce has a little bit of optimism and hope. And in the present tense, no, he doesn't. Now he's
got to
dead
get rid of that. Yeah.
But what I appreciate most in this minute, though, is that like it seems to paint a picture of Alfred as potentially being like. It almost feels like he's on something because like you look in a very Hanna-Barbera-esque way as Bruce and Andrea are like going about their business. You see in the background, Alfred is just stoic, standing, like doesn't blink. He's just staring into space. And then at one point when Bruce talks to him, he's like, "What am I thinking, Alfred?" I'm surprised they left it in, or they put it in the first place. But Alfred kind of goes, "Go," like as if he just wasn't paying attention. He's like, "What? Oh, sorry." As if he's such an amazing butler when he knows he has to wait for Bruce's date to be over for like 3 hours. He just gets into like a Zen Buddhist mindset where he's just like meditating outside the car.
He's like a droid in Star Wars. He turns himself off for a while.
Oh my God.
Well, again, I'm going to go with we're tight budget and not enough time, so they just had, say, Darwin Cook draw one cell of Alfred and just had it there, and it's like it doesn't move,
Kind of reminds me of like Woodhouse and Archer, how he was he was a heroin addict.
That's Alfred, all right.
Well, if they had more money and they put it in, like they could have had Alfred like rocking out in his car, like for waiting for Bruce to cut back to him sitting listening to like Beethoven and just like really getting into it.
I like the way you thought Beethoven. In my head, I was hearing like Zeppelin.
Yeah, classic rock, exactly.
This is my favorite, sir.
He's sitting there, yes, this rocks. And then like, as soon as he's Bruce, oop!
Maybe he's into some good rocking.
Yeah. Well, we would know Michael Goff's version was DJ Pennyworth, who was playing all the acid jazz and stuff when Batman Returns. So.
This one's our metalhead.
Yeah.
I thought as well that Andrea here acknowledges Bruce's dancing around the question, because she does say, "Since when do you talk to me about your plans?" Mm-hmm. And it sounds like this is already a pattern. Him not answering questions, not thinking about the future. So all I can think is, get out, girl, get out. This is a bad pattern.
Yeah, red flags.
I was all the red flags I was seeing were for Bruce, because he's clearly, instead of her being like, "Oh, maybe this guy isn't for me," he's clearly not committal. She's just like, "So you wanna? Oh, you wouldn't be ready to talk to my dad?" Like, "Oh no, I can talk to him." "Okay, let's go and meet my father right now." It's like, whoa, like Bruce, maybe it's a bit overeager for my liking, but.
Well, do you think that maybe like rich guys get away with a lot more?
Unfortunately, yes.
No, they're always held to a higher moral standard, Audra. And,
they've never done a single thing wrong. Otherwise, how would they be so rich?
Yeah, everyone who has $1 billion in the bank is by definition virtuous.
Yes, that's where the money comes from.
Yeah. That's your reward for being such a good person, is that you get to have all that money.
Yeah, it's like a karmic thing,
Yeah, thanks God.
Couple of things keep in mind. One, on a more serious level, this little plot twist or what have you, it does kind of fit in about what we know about Mr. Beaumont, or what we haven't seen Mr. Beaumont. He's a character we keep hearing about. It's the Charles Foster Kane thing that, he's this elusive guy, and, it's like suddenly he'll see you now. And it kind of does add to that. What's up with Andrea's dad? Because we're totally, I think they did a really good job of like, voice of Stacy Keach, and he was a really good red herring in the plot. And then on another level, I'd just like to think that, like all dads, he's totally unimpressed with who his daughter's going out with until he finds out it's Bruce Wayne. And he's just like, "Wait, you're going out with $80 billion?"
That's all he cares about. Yeah.
Well, the big thing is like what other things we know about Carl Beaumont is that he's in debt to the mob. So he's like, "Andrea, if you can hook this guy, all my problems are over. For the love of God,
Bruce,
get him over
my
here."
boy.
So when's the wedding?
Yeah,
Bruce is great. He's rich. He's got a huge tract of land.
As soon as that pause came in, it's like, I know where this is going.
Wow.
But I actually think when she, mentions seeing her dad, this is a sort of going against what you said, Brett. Even though I agree with you across the board here, I think there's a bit of good animation. because I think they do well, considering how they animate this, to show that he's sort of subtly a bit scared.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Okay, kind of. But it's in the face. They do something to his eyes and things. It's quite good, subtle, not over the top.
Yeah, no, I think they convey his awkwardness too. Of like, you know that he doesn't want to meet this guy, but he's just like, oh no, I can meet him. Like it's
He doesn't want to do anything.
Like oh, whatever you want. And it's been like, oh my god. And then the instant turn to Alfred, like, oh my god, what am I doing, Alfred? Like, and the not changing the volume of his voice at all. Like I can still hear your voice, by the way. Like Andrea, as she's down, I was like, no, I don't care what you say, whatever. Like, just gotta get you. We gotta get your 80 million in the bank. It's quite frankly that's my goal here at the moment. Although we have to assume though that they've been out quite a bit as well, because like this is like the first official date we've seen of Bruce and Andrea. Because otherwise it'd be her ringing like up like, hey daddy, I met this guy at mom's grave and then we f***ed on his lawn and now I'm bringing him around to meet you. Is that okay? It's like...
It feels like they've seen each other a little bit, doesn't it? Like this isn't their first meeting outside of the graveyard, sure.
Yeah, they must have gone out a bunch of random little dates. This could be like 6 months into the relationship or whatever.
Yeah, it seemed implied.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Have you guys? Is there a script for this that's available? Have you guys ever read it?
Yeah, there's one. It's in many ways it's very, very just like, because it's animation. I guess they have to like really stringently stick to the script. So there's not been any kind of wild variations, but like there are.
It's all tiny little changes, isn't it? I've got one coming up at some point, but it's literally just like the occasional line that they.
Yeah.
In another movie, you could have had, one of those great, we're dating montages.
Yeah.
We have all the time in the world, and it's like, oh, we're at the beach, we're eating cotton candy.
It could have worked in, like, because obviously they got at the end you do have Tia Carrera coming in to sing this song. And that could have been like, oh, we could work that into the movie somewhere. You could do a montage to that. But then it would be, one, like, time consuming and costly and whatnot, particularly under such a stringent deadline. And two, it would have been cheesy as all because that song isn't that great. But,
nah, it's kind of what it is. It's very 1994. But I could picture, like Shirley Walker taking that theme, taking the melody, very John Barry.
Yeah.
And
what
having it playing.
Danny Elfman did with the Susie Sue song. Well, they kind of worked in tangent with that, but a lot of the Catwoman theme is in Face to Face and vice versa and stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
But again, tight budget and rushing it out and stuff like that. And
that was again just in the mere mention of Danny Elfman. It's just like my heart was broken there, Audra. Obviously, because like just seeing Danny Elfman in Amoeba Music on YouTube. I was like, holy we're one step closer to him. And then to find out, like, no, you're in a completely different state to him at the time.
No, not state. It's just, I'm in the San Francisco store. This happened in the Hollywood store. There's only 3 stores, so.
How could he do that to you and to us?
Yeah. Because obviously you would have been obligated to just plug Batman into him constantly and insist that he comes on. Like, we would have expected anything less from you. So.
Yeah, totally. It would be my first thing would be like, oh, nice to meet you. So there's this podcast.
He comes on under duress. He's like, I really don't want to be doing this. But
I was like, so you're talking about my scores? Like, no, we've moved past your movies ages ago.
We'll also require that he sit and do his interview without the shirt.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I assume he never wears a shirt, right?
It's biodegradable.
But, I mean, you talking about the montage there, or that you want. I do keep saying that I think the movie should have another 20 minutes or so of romance. So I want that in. I want a Bruce Wayne meet the parents scenario as well. Mm-hmm. Put that in.
That is what we're getting.
But like, with all the hilarity and like misunderstandings
you want, like,
that go.
Stacy Keach, Carl Beaumont saying like, I have nipples, Bruce. Can you milk me? Batman accidentally knocking the guy's ashes, his wife's ashes into the fireplace and stuff.
Tell me about Beaumont's nipples.
Yeah. Although weirdly in tying into that, kind of. Because of so much of the movie is like done in such a like distinctly retro style. I was wondering what you guys think of Andrea's outfit here, because it's a very like they took time and effort to sort of style her in certain ways, and like what do you make of this thing she's wearing, this ensemble?
I wouldn't wear it.
I think you should.
I could.
Don't worry, you got the legs for it. It's okay.
Well, that a little funny. A little light bulb went off. Yeah, I saw this in 1994. Haven't seen it since. Definitely remembered the voice of Dana Delaney. But when we watched this, I had remembered Andrea much differently, and it wasn't until later I realized, they sort of drew when she did the voice of Lois Lane, they sort of made Lois Lane look, as they do in this style. Hart Buckner and Arthur look a little, there's certain crossover. Ditto Carl and Stacy Keach. But yeah, I mean...
Carl Beaumont is ostensibly just like, this is a drawing of Stacy Keach.
The stylized cartoon, Saturday Morning Version, etc. But yeah, I think if you look at Superman Adventures, they took a few cues from Dana Delaney in the design of Lois Lane. I realized, I was remembering Lois Lane, and so when I see her in the graveyard, it's like, wait, redhead, Lauren Bacall, so Rita Hayworth. It kind of threw me a little bit at first.
I think that this outfit she's got on specifically seems to be, because they said they wanted her to be a sweater girl, which was like one of the
more 50s.
Yeah, or even before that, because I looked into then like, well, what was the sweater girl? Exactly. It dates back to like 1937. Lana Turner was the original sweater girl.
Didn't know it was that old. Okay.
Yeah. She her first movie came out called They Won't Forget, which was a thing with Claude Rains thing about a guy getting lynched for been accused of murdering a kid, and then it's based on a true story, and now it's come down to like he probably wasn't innocent, and it was probably anti-Semitism that got him killed and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, from that there's this hard-hitting drama. Lana Turner became like a magazine sensation and stuff, and because you already had like Clara Bow was the it girl, and like Anne Sheridan was the oomph girl. Like, we need to come up with something for Lana Turner, and because she kept wearing these tight-fitting sweaters and stuff, they called her the sweater girl. And then it became like, it's all one of these things now that just seems so cute in retrospect, where it's just like, there was moral outrage about these sweater girls, like, because they were wearing tight-fitting sweaters with like conical kind of bras and like this, high up bust line and stuff like that. So much so, it even got like a quote from the Pittsburgh Superintendent of Police about it. Who made a public announcement saying, "Women walk the streets, their curves accentuated by their dresses. But our real problem is with the bobby soxers. They are the sweater girls, just kids showing off their curves and apparently liking it. What kind of mothers and wives are they going to be?"
Wow.
Now, on the other hand, those sweaters inspired a generation to go to war and defeat fascism.
Yeah.
All for the sweater.
All for the
Ed
torpedo
Wood
bra.
put on that sweater.
And
jumped out of an airplane.
in his Angora sweater.
Smashed fascism.
And the heartbreak of this sweater is like, this is what caused Bruce Wayne to finally become Batman. It's like, if I can't have that sweater girl, then what else is there in life for me?
But he's experienced the best. So,
But I mean, that also kind of sheds light on the whole time-space paradox of this movie and the series, that it's the present, it's the past. I mean, Burton and his Burton and Company set that up in the first movie, but
we should have at the end of every episode, we should just have a soundbite of Mike from Twin Peaks going like, "Is it future or is it past?"
Yes.
Just to set the tone every time.
it's the total mix up of you know, it looks like they're climbing into a 1937 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, and they have all this high-tech stuff in the shape of low-tech stuff. So it just got a part of the fun. But yeah, you know, and I guess Andrea's outfits, and even Bruce's baby blue sweater. Remember, he's a sweater boy here too.
Yeah.
Oh,
he is.
yeah.
Maybe he was trying to make it a thing. He's like, all right, we'll be the sweater couple.
That's our gimmick.
Yeah.
You need a gimmick as a duo, you know?
Although annoyingly, like, she seems to be wearing what I would call a t-shirt. But apparently, I think they would class it as, no, that's a sweater girl sweater. It was like, particularly depending on the material. Because it'd have to be, you know, cashmere or something like that as well. But it's like, it's clearly designed to be that fashion.
Yeah.
But
Texture
also
is hard in cartoons.
Yeah. But to me, it's like, no, it's a t-shirt in my eyes. But, you know, they did say specifically, no, we want her to be a sweater girl because that informs the character. Then if you know the sort of socio-political history behind the sweater girl and the kind of attitude that they would have had in terms of like embracing their sexuality and bucking the trends and whatnot, then by her being that, it sort of signals to you subconsciously about what kind of a crazed Bobby Soxer she is, you know. So.
She wants you to think it's that, but it's a t-shirt because she's deceptive, right? Yeah. Because, you know, in this scene, she was planning to get Bruce to say yes, I think. Right?
Oh, 100%.
Because by suggesting that he wouldn't want to meet her dad, it then pushes him into a position of having to say yes to save face and manliness.
The thing is that when she's in the
Very
car,
manipulative.
she looks back at them with this kind of like it's almost like a very malevolent kind of smile going on. So it's like, this is like a prototype Poison Ivy situation here. She didn't even need like the pheromones. It's like, no, she just got him. Like, she's got both of them. They both are just staring at her, just like, what the.
Yeah, that's the other one. As I said earlier, I was sort of I'd forgotten what Andrea looked like, and I was. Yeah, my first reaction was, wow, she looks way too much like Poison Ivy. They could be sisters. I mean, they were all probably designed by Bruce Timm, but, you know, there's kind of the source, but still it was, again, and you know, my memory was a little jarred, but...
That's why Bruce always goes so much heavier on Poison Ivy. Like, he'd be, like, taking down a bunch of them, but he always, like, beats her up more because he's remembering Andrea.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's dark.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, no. Bruce, that makes Bruce even worse than usual.
They're cartoons. It's fine.
They don't hurt.
Yeah. Although it's saying about them gazing at Andrea, that was another thing I saw about, like, such was the craze of the sweater girls that apparently in September 1968, an obscure clerical worker called Francine Gottfried briefly attained international celebrity status as Wall Street's sweater girl, as large crowds of gawking men and newspaper reporters awaited her arrival at Wall Street subway stop every morning and mobbed her on her way to work, which sounds
creepy.
That sounds terrifying. Like,
no, that is so rapey.
Yeah.
Come on.
And it's like
1968?
1968. Like,
that's late for sweaters.
Maybe we're just nostalgic for it. So there's like, no, there's one sweater girl left. Let's get out there.
They're like, that was sex positive in the 40s. So.
How could you possibly think that just... like structuring it, not just your day around this woman, but like loads of people doing the same thing is fine. And like, just what are they doing? Like going to a wooga.
That's probably like as well. And she didn't ask for that. That's just like, oh yeah, mom, you really, how do I get out of this? Like, these people are just hounding me, and I can't get them to stop. It's just because I wore a sweater one time. I imagine she probably ended up like wearing big baggy coats and stuff, just to be like, would you leave me the hell alone?
Yeah.
And they'll think she's teasing them then, like, oh, open your coat. It's like, no, I'm just trying to go to work.
It's always the woman's fault, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she shouldn't have dressed that way in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bruce comes out with a line here that just baffled me, right? Because she gets on the phone to her dad and he turns to Alfred, like you mentioned, Niall, and he's like, this isn't part of the plan. I must be going nuts. I mean, nuts, great. But, hang on, like... meeting the father of the potential love of your life is not part of your plan. What?
His plan is, I'm going to become a weird creature of the night, and I'm going to be a full blown vigilante dedicating to doling out justice all the time.
But he seems to be happy with her, so surely the next step would be meeting her dad, right?
I think but he's probably just like, no, I'll just go along with this for a bit, and then to
Then I'll
agree
kick her to the curb.
and then agree to meet her father. It's like, oh my god, like I'm now in a full blown relationship where I'm meeting the parents. This is gonna lead, like, now I'm way off being weird creature of the night. Now I'm sweater boy. Like, what the hell's happening? Yeah.
Well,
His fear of commitment.
It is. And Alfred's
wild.
thinking like me, because he points out to him that it's a bit strange.
Yeah.
In a nice way.
Again, Alfred is very much, no, this is what everybody should be kind of theoretically doing, really. But
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have
to
been
be a
together.
sociopath.
You guys have been together, for a while. Do you remember meeting the parents and stuff, or was it a thing that? Are you still waiting to meet the parents? Are you still not at that stage of the relationship?
What, after 18 years?
Like someday.
I remember meeting your dad, and it was there are some
it horrifying?
parallels. No. There were some. He came to visit us in San Francisco, and there's some parallels. I've met fathers before, and but yeah, it's always. I think it's a bit of a stigma because everything's going fine. It's time to meet the parents. It's like, what are they going to do? Ground me?
Yeah. It's just always the assumption that they're going to be hostile to you because it's like, well, you're like having intercourse with my child, basically, is what they're trying to.
Ay.
Yeah, I think that is where, like, movies and TV, it's I'm the disapproving father. It's like that is usually in movies and TV shows. That's the foil. Is no one's good enough for my little girl.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't care. He just wanted to talk movies with you.
He wanted to go to John's Grill, where one of the original Maltese Falcon statues
Oh, wow. Nice.
was located at the time. But that's another story for another time.
We did.
Because that statue was stolen.
Oh, did he do I really hope he did do the classic. Because again, Americans are much more about all this stuff, the formality of things. Like, I hope there was the classic interaction of like, oh, Mr. Wolfman, oh, please call me, call me John or whatever, or and we called him sir, and he's like, no, we're Audra's talked so much about you, we're practically family.
Well, we get that, we'll move through properly again in a minute, but we get that here, because Bruce does say sir, and to me, that's a weird American thing.
Yeah.
Like, nobody here would ever be formal, ever.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, I always called my neighbors and stuff just by their first name, like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then you always see in Dennis the Menace, there's always like Mr. Wilson. There's always like, oh yeah. When you meet someone, it's like, oh, Bart would go to Milhouse's house and call his dad, Mr. Van Houten. As a big, you call him Kirk because his name is Kirk. Why would you call him Mr. Van Houten and stuff? But,
yeah.
Yeah, little kids aren't allowed to use first names of adults. It's just how it is.
See, we only do that here with teachers. And that's changing a little bit now, I think.
Oh, no.
But, like, for instance, when you hear... Well, I read a lot online, people get a bit annoyed. They'll be, like, misgendered or something because someone will say sir or ma'am or something.
Yeah, ma'am is
you
a
would
bad thing
never
right
get
now,
called those
apparently.
things. I've never once been called anything like that, ever.
Yeah.
Really?
Never, ever, ever.
No.
And if
I
someone
got
did
called
say
ma'am
it,
several times at a grocery store, and I was like, I am not old enough to be a ma'am. Oh, I am. I am old enough.
I always remember one time when I was just I just graduated university. So I was only like 21 or something. And I just remember like someone coming in with a kid and going like, ask the man over there. And I was like, who? like, oh, me? like,
Yeah.
I'm not a
Look
man.
to your left,
I'm
look
not
to your
that
right.
old yet.
yeah, man makes you sound like you're like 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was before I even had a
something.
beard. I was just like, well, I'm a clean-shaven young buck. What are you talking about? We do cut then to the townhouse, or not the townhouse, the office of Carl Beaumont. And then we get introduced to dorky Poindexter, young geek Arthur Reeves over here.
It caught me by surprise the first time. I was just like, hang on, that's him?
You mean the White Urkel?
I I love that they lent so
called
hard into it. It's like, you just couldn't make him look like a little bit different. It's like, no, he has to be like the biggest looking dork. He's got the alfalfa hair, he's got the bow tie and the braces and stuff.
Just to make you hate him even more.
Something very 90s about the way they design that character. Maybe it's just the giant power glasses and the suspenders, but I don't know. I pictured him. I don't know. To me, it was just like, yep, it's 1994, and he's an ambitious young man.
Look like.
Nerds. I'll say it again. White Urkel coming soon.
It was like if you were in the world of Simpsons memes, like he is the dud.
Yeah.
Like it is probably. You imagine that he resents the Beaumonts so much because he was sitting around playing that game with the family so much. And every time, it's like, you got the dud. He looks like you, Poindexter.
Well, but Carl Beaumont clearly thinks that as well, because it's obvious, absolutely obvious, that Arthur is into his daughter. And he immediately just sort of gets really into the idea of Bruce joining the family instead in front of him. Like right in front of him.
Well, again, money.
I think that's what it is, right? Because he knows who Bruce is immediately, right?
Yeah.
And these kind
He's
of people...
the richest guy in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, these kind of people pride themselves on knowing other, like, bigwigs. He's like the one guy that Carl will accept dating his daughter, possibly.
It's like, how big? It is, I can have to reference The Simpsons again, but it is like, help my my son-in-law is a nerd or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll be deep in the cold ground before my daughter dates a dweeb like this guy.
It's a dweeb. But he does refer to him as a young Turk, which shows some kind of like, this upstart, like he's got some respect for this guy.
He might be just saying that because he's there, and he's just like, hey buddy, did you get a load of the nerd? Like as soon as Arthur's out the door.
Yeah.
Down Poindexter.
Well,
I thought that was, I don't know why, but I thought that was a little racy. This young Turk. This smooth young boy. And I was like, I don't know.
That's all next minute, though. I've got material on the hot young Turk.
Over the line?
I looked into that as well, which we'll get to, because I'd never heard it before. So we'll...
Oh, it's a term I'm well familiar with, weirdly enough. But yeah, we'll get to it.
You're always calling people it.
No.
I did, though, look up Stacy Keach.
The great Stacy Keach. Stunned. He's still alive. Stacy Keach. Still going. He's one of those guys that's assumed he's bound to be dead. Like, no, he's like 85 or something, but he's still going.
That did blow my mind. But something I thought was really admirable about Stacy. Interesting name. But it was that he is now the honorary chairman of the Cleft Palate Foundation.
What?
Yep, that's true. His that's why one reason why he's had a mustache for years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is the cleft palate.
He even insists upon it in animated characters. It's like, you have to give him a mustache as well, because otherwise how would people know it's Stacy Keach?
I think maybe they did actually think about that. Like, well, we want to pay homage to him.
Yeah. Well, again, I think Carl, you can kind of see, and for the record, Stacy Keach had a pretty successful run on the Mike Hammer TV series, where you see where Carl Beaumont and I think they took a few lines, in the process. I think he's such a greatly drawn. He's a good looking character because he so looks like stock character from a 40s movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Brian Donlevy or somebody like that.
Well, but my whole thing was, and this was like, this has hounded me for like years, and I finally looked it up to see if it was just me, and it's not. Because, and this is one of these things, like, I'll have to post in the listeners' cave, and people, if you have a phone handy and you can look up pictures of these guys, please do, because, like, I'm still not entirely certain that Stacy Keach and Powers Booth are not the same man. Like, the amount of times I've been like, oh, there's Powers Booth. No, it's Stacy Keach. Oh, look, there's Stacy Keach. No, it's Powers Booth. And it's like, it's so, and then to the point is, if you Google Stacy Keach, one of the predicted things that comes up is Stacy Keach Powers Booth, because there's loads of hits of people going, is it the same? Why are there two men who are identical going around claiming to be different guys?
let's make it even more complicated, because let's throw in two lesser known but talented guys, Richard Jordan, who was Francis in Logan's Run, and a lesser known guy, Lawrence Luckinbill, who was among other things Sarek's brother in Spock's brother in the ill-fated Star Trek V, and those four guys could be 4/7 of a new cast of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Yes.
But even then, from that as well, you get like Tom Atkins. He's got that same kind of thing going on.
Oh, Tom Atkins has like the hugest head, though.
Well, that's the one thing that differentiated him. But
yeah.
And I remember when I looked up, on the discussions of it, and someone was just like, if you just take Brian Dennehy and put a mustache on him, it's Stacy Keach again. Like, maybe it is like it is all one guy, and the greatest trick he's ever pulled is like, oh yeah, I've become a successful Hollywood actor like 4 times, but convinced everybody that I'm 4 different people when it's just me the whole time.
Got to get enough work.
But it is interesting how you could almost group certain actors as that guy. Like I would put Tom Atkins with lesser known guy. Well, Rollerball. You guys remember John Beck?
Oh yeah.
Similar, kind of like lantern jaw, mustache, and both of those guys were sort of like, oh yeah, that Robert Redford Sundance Kid look. Yeah, we're gonna rock that through the 70s. And
Then they brought it back for kinda with Aaron Eckhart in The Dark Knight, because they kind of go, he looks so much like Redford, and then they're kind of going for like, well, he's a politician. It's like The Candidate. It's kind of like a little intertextual reference, like, oh, Harvey Dent's kind of like Robert Redford in that movie from the 70s and stuff. But the thing is, I think
maybe every white guy with a mustache looks the same.
Well, that was my problem too. Like we had when we were talking about the Jack Palance. It was like, oh yeah, he looks so much like the guy from, the end of Halloween 3, like the guy behind the whole thing. And he's like, oh yeah, I think I just have old white man blindness. So I was like, is that not the same guy? But it could be with Carl Beaumont. They're like, oh yeah, so go cast Tom Atkins. And they're like, no, he doesn't want to do it. Can you get Cars Booth? No.
Get the other one.
Yeah, Stacey Keach is like, oh, does he look enough like that? Yeah, he looks like him. Don't worry about it. We just drew that's like amorphous guy who's just the Tom Atkins type, I guess, or whatever.
I did look up as well Stacey Keach's sort of filmography and things like that. I picked out a few that you might not think of. I tried to steer away from some of the obvious ones. I mean, ignoring the fact that as well he's basically been in every single Shakespeare play ever. He's
like regarded as being like the greatest ever King Lear, apparently. People say his onstage King Lear is like so renowned. It's like, yeah, he is. Just like people in the Shakespearean like theater going world. It's like, oh no, Stacey Keach, that is King Lear. Like he's the definitive version of the character and stuff. So
he has also been in The Ninth Configuration.
Love that movie.
Escape from L.A. The much
That's weird the way you said that, though. The Escape from L.A.
Well, because people probably thought I was going to say something else there, you see. So
Escape from New York, L.A. Oh!
Well, yeah, not to go on a tangent, but it would have been great if there had been like 7 or 8 Snake Plissken movies. Escape from Oahu. Yeah. Escape from Kansas City.
Just come up with weird locations each time. Yeah.
Escape from Liverpool.
Escape from Liverpool.
Yeah. Some people have pointed out too that the end, the Snake Plissken's like last subterfuge in Escape from L.A., in the climax of it, is directly ripped off in The Last Jedi. And the character who does it is Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
who's in this very movie? So
everything's connected.
Yeah,
but he's also been in American History X.
That's the one. Again, I always thought it was Powers Booth, but that's his big one. I think, yeah. Beyond been like the Shakespeare guy. It's like, oh yeah, the guy from he's like the lead neo-Nazi in American History X.
Well, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For.
Of course, Powers Booth is in the first Sin City movie. They probably thought they were getting him back, and they're like, shit.
We called the wrong guy. But most importantly, Children of the Corn, 666, Isaac's Return.
Oh, of course.
Everyone's
Where
favorite.
Is that in the franchise? Yeah. Is that number 3, 4, 5?
18.
It's 666.
I guess so.
They keep making them.
I know, and
I'm going to give us. Oh, go ahead.
it's one of those that you didn't really need to make any after the first one. The first one was fine.
Yeah.
Just end there.
Yeah.
Stop.
We also dive more into Stacy Keach as his minutes go on and stuff, but like should point out one of his big roles was in a movie that keeps getting brought up on this podcast. So much so, I think we're just going to have to cover it like for a hiatus episode sometime. He's also in Brewster McCloud.
Yeah.
The Robert Altman movie that has Mike Murphy, who played Mayor Roscoe Jenkins in Batman Returns. It's got Renee Auberjonois in it, and it keeps Bud Cort, of course, was in the number 23, which we did review, and he does voices in the Batman animated series and stuff. And it's Stacy Keach is in the. I'm assuming you guys probably have come across Brewster McCloud, the Robert Altman sort of weird classic from way back when.
Haven't seen it in a long time, but definitely familiar with it, and forgot Stacy Keach was in it. But yeah, it's got the. You're right. It's got the usual. At that time, the Altman company, if you will. Same. Yeah, the troupe was in there. I'm gonna. Should we save it for the next episode? I was gonna mention hit the mic. A Stacy Keach movie we liked a lot.
Oh yeah. We'll save it for that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, let's save it.
This episode is 8 hours, but the next one will be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is us we're talking about. It's all going to be here.
So what we missing that thing is basically it is Bruce just gets dragged into the room. Like everything about it, particularly his body language, again, is just like Andrea having like, yes, this is Bruce Wayne, Dad's like, get in here. And then having to do the classic, oh, nice to meet you, sir. Oh, like, sir. Like, oh, Andrea's talked about you so much, I feel like we're practically family.
I do wish Carl had made a faux pas and said, "Oh, it's really nice to meet you, Wayne Foundation. I mean, Bruce." Like he just thinks the kid's name is Wayne Foundation. And, he's got a first.
Good to meet you, $.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, Daddy." He's like, "Oh, sorry, money. I mean, honey." Although I do, it's a great note to end on. I absolutely do love. Again, it's like this nice little subtle animation, like where, Andrea is like, she's a cool character. She's all, she always has the kind of upper hand of Bruce. She has an aloofness to her and a lot of self-confidence and stuff. And the fact that she probably thinks like, oh, come and meet my dad. And the dad to be like, oh, she talks about you all the time. Like you're the number one topic. And she's just like, Daddy, like, don't, like, he thinks I'm cool. Don't let me know that I've been just gushing about my boyfriend to you all the goddamn time. And then Bruce's little smirk.
Yeah, shut up,
just like,
Dad.
It's like, it's 100% a shut up, Dad. And he's just like, Bruce is loving it.
We will head off into the dark, dark night. Would our wonderful guests like to tell people either where they can be found online or promote anything you've got that you'd like to share with the world?
Oh, boy, do we.
You go first.
Oh, okay.
You got the good one.
Well, I have a couple of podcasts that your listeners might be interested in. Speak Easily versus the 80s, which you've both been guests on.
Yeah.
And that podcast goes over 80s movies. And we've kind of been on a break, but we're coming back very, very soon.
Hey.
And the other podcast I do is Retrophilia, which there's 19 episodes out there about the 90s. And not really like, oh, those were the days kind of 90s, but more just like an analytic look at things that happened in the 90s and how they affect us now. Oh, and also I'm in a all Weird Al burlesque troupe that documentary's in the works about. It's called, the documentary will be called Show Gals. So keep your eye out for that one.
And it's coming soon.
Yeah, successfully crowdfunded too. I was happy to see, like,
right?
You met the goal and stuff. So
Woo!
Yeah.
Surpassed the goal
Hey.
in part thanks to your efforts, my dear.
Well, check all of that out. And as usual, speak to us on Facebook at the Bat-Minute Listeners Cave, on Twitter at Bat-Minute, Instagram, The Bat-Minute. And why don't you go to our network, Sleepy Charlie Media, on Patreon, where you can get bonus episodes, and all kinds of other gubbins for next to nothing. $2. What's that? Pfft, it's less than a coffee. Do it. And join us again on Wednesday for more Bat Minute of the Phantasm.
Next time, holy gate-crashing gangsters, Batman. Still just Bruce Wayne. We have a flashback full of familiar faces and foreshadowing. Bruce meets a hot young Turk and an eventually irksome jerk. But as a summit goes swimmingly between Bruce and his beau's remaining folk, which worrisome Weezer will waft in to blow some smoke? Smoke 'em if you got 'em, Marlboro thems. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Must have dope, stiff it, tabby,